Right now, the electric vehicle you drive or the one you're thinking about buying is running on obsolete technology. For the last 10 years, legacy automakers have sold us a specific narrative that the lithium-ion battery in your car, the same fundamental chemistry that powers your smartphone, is the peak of modern engineering. We celebrate 300 miles of range as a massive achievement. We accept waiting 45 minutes at a supercharger as a normal part of life. We ignore the cold weather range drop, the heavy weight, and the underlying fire risks because we've been told this is as good as it gets. But behind the scenes, in highly secretive laboratories funded by the world's largest automakers, that narrative has already been torn to shreds. A revolution is no longer coming. It is already here, and it's called the solid-state battery. Today, we are breaking down the four most advanced, unstoppable solid-state battery technologies that are quietly being perfected right now. These aren't science fiction concepts. These are real, tested platforms that will charge in minutes, drive for nearly 1,000 miles, and permanently make the gas-powered car a relic of the past. The liquid flaw. Before we look at the four titans of the solid-state revolution, you have to understand the fundamental flaw they are designed to fix. Inside every single electric car on the road today, from a budget commuter to a $130,000 luxury flagship, there is a liquid electrolyte. This liquid is the medium that allows ions to flow back and forth, creating the electrical charge that moves the car. It works, but it's a massive compromise. Think of this liquid like water in a balloon. When you try to charge a battery rapidly, you are forcing energy into that balloon. Push too much too fast and the liquid heats up, degrades the internal structures, and creates microscopic metallic spikes called dendrites that can short-circuit the battery and cause an unstoppable chemical fire. That liquid is the reason you have to sit at a charger for nearly an hour. It's the reason your battery loses a chunk of its maximum capacity after 5 years. It is the bottleneck of the entire EV industry. Now, imagine draining that liquid and replacing it with a solid ceramic or polymer structure. Suddenly, the balloon is a brick. It can't leak. It won't freeze. It won't easily ignite. Most importantly, you can push energy through it at terrifying speeds without damaging the internal structure. That is the solid-state promise. And these four companies are the ones making it a reality. 1. The sleeping giant. Toyota's sulfide masterpiece. If you read the headlines over the past few years, you might have assumed Toyota was falling behind. While Tesla dominated the EV market and Chinese automakers scaled at unprecedented speeds, the company that sold more cars than anyone else on Earth remained suspiciously quiet on pure battery electric vehicles. But Toyota wasn't sleeping. They were quietly building a fortress of intellectual property. Toyota has amassed over 1,000 patents related to solid-state battery technology, focusing heavily on sulfide-based solid electrolytes. To understand why this is such a massive deal, we have to look at the numbers they are confident enough to publicly claim. Toyota's initial solid-state targets are staggering: an energy density of 450 to 500 watt-hours per kilogram watt-hour per kilogram. In real-world terms, that means they are looking at a driving range of approximately 745 miles, 1,200 kilometers, on a single charge. Let that sink in. That means driving from New York City to Chicago without ever stopping to charge. For the average driver, it means plugging in your car maybe once or twice a month. But the range isn't even the most disruptive part, because the solid sulfide electrolyte allows ions to travel much faster without the risk of dendrite formation. Toyota is targeting a 10-minute charge time. Not 10 minutes to get 50 miles of range. 10 minutes to replenish the massive 745-mile battery. If you can pull into a station, plug in, grab a coffee, use the restroom, and pull out with over 700 miles of range, the psychological barrier between a gas pump and an EV charger completely evaporates. And Toyota is not dealing in hypotheticals. They have partnered with major petrochemical and materials companies like Idemitsu Kozen to solve the mass manufacturing hurdles. They are targeting 2027 to start putting these batteries into their high-end Lexus models, acting as the vanguard before the technology cascades down to the mass market. Toyota waited, let everyone else beta test lithium-ion, and is now preparing to drop a technological hammer on the industry. 2. The Silicon Valley Challenger, QuantumScape's anode-free architecture. While Toyota operates with quiet, massive scale, an American company named QuantumScape is approaching the solid-state puzzle with a radical, ground-up redesign of the battery cell itself. Backed by Volkswagen, one of the largest automakers in the world, QuantumScape has developed a technology that sounds impossible until you look at the chemistry. They created an anode-free lithium metal battery. In a traditional lithium-ion battery, the anode, the negative side, is usually made of graphite or a graphite-silicon mixture. Its job is to store the lithium ions when the battery is charged. But graphite takes up a lot of physical space and adds significant weight to the vehicle. QuantumScape threw the graphite out entirely. Instead, they manufacture the battery in a discharged state with no built-in anode. When you charge the battery for the first time, the lithium ions migrate through a proprietary solid ceramic separator and actually form a pure lithium metal anode on the spot. Imagine buying a bookshelf that only materializes the shelves when you try to put a book on it, and then disappears when you take the book off. That's essentially what QuantumScape is doing at a chemical level. The result? They have eliminated a massive, heavy component of the battery. This allows them to achieve incredible volumetric energy density targeting 800 to 1000 watt-hours per liter. This means you can pack significantly more energy into a much smaller, lighter space. A lighter battery means a lighter car, which improves handling, acceleration, and efficiency. Furthermore, QuantumScape's solid ceramic separator is non-combustible and completely eliminates the lithium diffusion bottleneck that plagues traditional batteries. This allows them to hit charging speeds of under 15 minutes. QuantumScape's approach proves that we don't just need better materials, we need entirely new architectures. If they can successfully scale their manufacturing alongside their partners, the standard lithium-ion battery will instantly become legacy tech. 3. The polymer pioneer, Factorial Energy's FEST technology. One of the biggest arguments against solid-state batteries is the cost of manufacturing them. Critics argue that even if the batteries are vastly superior, requiring automakers to build entirely new, multi-billion-dollar factories to produce them will make the cars too expensive for normal people to buy. This is the exact problem that Factorial Energy, a Massachusetts-based innovator, was built to solve. Factorial's secret weapon is called FEST Factorial Electrolyte System Technology. Unlike companies trying to force the industry to adopt entirely new, complex ceramic processes, Factorial uses a proprietary quasi-solid polymer electrolyte. Why does this matter? Because Factorial designed their batteries to be compatible with existing lithium-ion battery manufacturing equipment. They are essentially telling legacy automakers, you don't need to throw away your billion-dollar factories. You just need to change the recipe. This drop in compatibility is a massive competitive advantage. It dramatically lowers the capital expenditure required to transition to solid-state, accelerating commercialization. And the performance speaks for itself. Factorial's lithium metal anode setup is achieving a high energy density of 391 watt-hours per kilogram, which translates to roughly 50% more range than a comparable conventional battery, all while maintaining strict safety standards. The automotive giants see the writing on the wall. Factorial has secured massive joint development agreements and financial backing from Mercedes-Benz, Stellantis, the parent company of Jeep, Ram, and Dodge, Hyundai, and Kia. In fact, the timeline is moving faster than most realize. Mercedes-Benz has already received B-sample batteries from Factorial for advanced validation, and Stellantis has begun road testing these solid-state cells in development vehicles. Factorial is proving that the solid-state revolution won't just be high performance, it will be highly scalable. 4. The Tech Titan, Samsung SDI's all-solid-state offensive. When we talk about the battery revolution, we cannot ignore the South Korean tech titans, and Samsung SDI is positioning itself to be a dominant force in the solid-state landscape. Samsung SDI, the battery division of the Samsung conglomerate, is deeply invested in sulfide-based solid electrolytes, similar to Toyota. However, Samsung brings its immense expertise in consumer electronics and precision manufacturing to the table. Samsung's all-solid-state battery (ASB) program is focused heavily on maximizing volumetric energy density, how much power you can squeeze into a specific physical space. By utilizing a proprietary silver-carbon nanocomposite layer for their anode, Samsung SDI aims to suppress dendrite growth entirely, allowing for an incredibly dense, ultra-safe battery cell. They are targeting an energy density of 900 W. In the context of an electric vehicle, this means automakers could offer massive ranges without sacrificing interior cabin space or trunk capacity to house the battery pack. Samsung isn't just showing off concepts at trade shows. In 2022, they launched a massive 6,500 square meter pilot production line, dubbed the line in Suwon, South Korea, specifically dedicated to solid-state cell assembly and electrolyte processing. Their timeline is aggressive. They are aiming for mass production of their all-solid-state batteries by 2027. What makes Samsung SDI a terrifying competitor for other battery makers is their vertically integrated supply chain and their existing relationships with major automakers like BMW and Rivian. When Samsung SDI flips the switch to mass production, they have the industrial might to flood the market with premium solid-state cells. The geopolitical shift. The arrival of solid-state batteries isn't just an upgrade. It is an extinction-level event for the internal combustion engine. When you remove the liquid electrolyte, you remove the excuses. Range anxiety? Gone when your car can drive 700 to 800 miles on a single charge. Charging wait times? Erased when a full charge takes 10 to 15 minutes. Safety fears? Eliminated when the battery chemistry is physically incapable of a thermal runaway fire. Longevity concerns? Resolved when the battery degrades so slowly that it outlasts the chassis of the car itself. But this revolution also creates a massive geopolitical and economic race. The first automaker to put a reliable, affordable solid-state EV on a dealership lot will instantly make every lithium-ion EV on the market look like a flip phone in the age of the smartphone. Used EV values for legacy models could plummet as consumers realize they are buying outdated, liquid-based technology. Automakers who have invested tens of billions into massive lithium-ion gigafactories, without a plan to retrofit them like Factorial allows, might suddenly find themselves holding massive stranded assets outmaneuvered by companies like Toyota who bided their time. The oil industry, which currently relies on the inconvenience of EVs to maintain market share, will face a sudden, terrifying reality. The moment charging an EV is as fast and convenient as pumping gas, the final barrier to mass adoption vanishes. The unavoidable future, the internal combustion engine had a fantastic run. For over a century, it moved humanity forward. But it has reached the absolute limit of its physical potential. You can only squeeze so much efficiency out of small, controlled explosions. The solid-state battery represents the next great leap. Toyota, QuantumScape, Factorial, and Samsung SD aren't just building better batteries. They are rewriting the rules of transportation. The next time you see a commercial for a brand new gas-powered car or a standard lithium-ion EV, remember that the blueprints to make it obsolete are already finalized. The solid-state era is no longer a question of if, it is strictly a question of when. And based on the billions of dollars currently flowing into these four companies, when is happening right now.